What's up, you guys? Welcome to my first YouTube video. So today's video, as you can tell by the title, is going to be my 18-week update and symptoms slash my anatomy scan and talking about incompetent cervix. Okay. Excuse if you hear any noise. I do live in an apartment, so they're kind of stomping upstairs per usual, but I do have some notes to make sure that I stay on topic. So if you see me look down occasionally, I apologize, but I do tend to ramble, and I just wanted to be in order with some things. Okay. The first thing is, why did I start this so late? Why is my 18-week update the first video in my vlogging journey of this pregnancy? The reason why the 18 weeks is the first video is because of one, as you know, COVID is going on, the virus. So I got a late start. I did schedule my first appointment. I think I was seen at like 9 or 10 weeks for my first appointment, but there was really nothing to talk about. That appointment was just a history. I was going to a new office, so there was no vlogging there, and it was at the health department, so I couldn't really vlog the appointment. There was just nothing to really talk about at that point, and I wanted to make sure, the second reason is because I wanted to make sure my pregnancy was progressing as it should be, and just get started on things, make sure I was in the right place, I was being seen by the right people. So that's the second reason. And what I mean by that, I'm going to get into that a little bit more in depth here in a minute. So I did not have my first ultrasound until yesterday, which was officially 18 weeks. I'm actually 18 weeks one day now today. So my first ultrasound was actually yesterday, and they also did my anatomy scan yesterday. So that covers a lot. So I found out a lot. I actually got to see the baby, make sure the baby was okay, because I didn't want to make videos and just talk about a pregnancy, and I really don't know where I'm at so far in the pregnancy. So the next thing I'm going to be talking about is, sorry if I keep wiping my nose, how I'm feeling at 18 weeks. So how I'm feeling at 18 weeks, I pretty much have the same symptoms as I did when I started out, which are little to none. I have nausea, I have occasional headaches, but the biggest thing now that I have more than anything is like the tightness, the round ligament pains that you get, probably like my hip aches. I don't know if other people experience that, but I've been experiencing that. So my stomach is tight occasionally, and then I have occasional hip aches. In the beginning of my pregnancy, I will touch bases on that for you guys that would want to know. For my first trimester, which I believe most people say from week 1 to week 13, week 14 usually starts the second trimester. So for my first trimester, I had more so nausea without vomiting, and that was from not eating as frequently as I should have been, which I learned over time, and headaches, because I do have a history of migraines, so I would get headaches a lot, and they were unbearable. So I did end up quitting my job because my job was like stressful, because I was doing call center for technical support. Like I couldn't snack like I needed to, so I was getting headaches. I'll be on an hour-long call, I get nauseous. It was just terrible. So I just got to the point where I couldn't do it anymore. And with COVID going on, it's really not the ideal time to look for another job, and me not working has actually been the best decision so far in this pregnancy. I'm gonna get a little bit further into that also, but I'm not gonna make this video long and drawn out. The reason why I wanted to vlog my pregnancy journey is because this is not my first pregnancy. My last pregnancy, you know, I got past a rough patch. I was diagnosed with a subchorionic hemorrhage, or hematoma, I believe it's called, where I experienced bleeding early in pregnancy. That was around week 6 is when that first started. I bled for probably 2 weeks, very lightly. By the end of the first week, because I went to the ER initially, and they just basically said everything was fine. It's a threatened miscarriage, because that's what the ER tells you. Follow up with your OB. The bleeding didn't get heavier, so I didn't think much of it. I know you can bleed. So that's ended up being what it was, but it absorbed. So everything was fine once I got past that patch. Up until 22 weeks, I started leaking fluid. Unfortunately, I went into preterm labor, and I lost my daughter. I delivered a stillborn baby girl. So for that reason, that's one of the biggest reasons why I held off on this journey. I wanted to vlog this journey. I wanted to share my experience with other people, because when you think of starting a family, you think, okay, I'm gonna get pregnant, 9 months later I'm gonna have a baby. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. But I want to document this pregnancy a little bit more, to just have things to look back on later on. And if I'm experiencing something that other people are going through, we can kind of share and connect in a way. So that's one of the biggest reasons I'm making this video. So as I said and stated, I am 18 weeks and 1 day. I had my anatomy scan yesterday, and great, it's a perfect time to make a video because I have some things to talk to you guys about. So upon the anatomy scan, I was transferred. Before I get into that, actually what I'm going to talk about is, because of my last experience with my pregnancy, I was transferred to a specialist. It's the most important part. So after my first 2 appointments at the health department, which was a history, and the second appointment was lab work, you know, lab work, blood work, just to make sure I'm healthy and everything is going good. They didn't see any protein in my urine, all the regular basic things that they do when you're pregnant. And just to tell you why I was going to the health department is because like I said, I had just started my job, and I literally had less than a month before my insurance was supposed to kick in, and I quit. So I did not have health insurance, and I figured it would be cheaper out of pocket at the health department, but boy was I wrong. I could have just went to a doctor's office. But they have taken care of me. I was a little skeptical about going there, but they have definitely taken care of me, and they got me over to a specialist right away. So I started, my first appointment with the specialist was at 16 weeks. That date was April 27th, and that appointment went well. They did the same thing. They did blood work. And they also talked to me about my last pregnancy, because when you deliver preterm, they keep reiterating what happened, so they can kind of get an idea of things they need to look out for. So at that appointment, they decided, which it was already mentioned to me at the health department, but they decided that at my upcoming ultrasound, they wanted them to check my cervix to make sure I did not have an incompetent cervix. And what that is your weak cervical tissue that causes your cervix to open before it needs to. Because me being 18 weeks, or say you're 12 weeks, whenever it starts opening, it should not be doing that until you're almost time to have your baby full term, closer to like 30, 38, 36, whatever, down the road, way further down the road. It should not be happening now. So they saw that I did have an ultrasound coming up. It was originally scheduled for 20 weeks, but they did put in that I needed my cervix to be checked as well. So by the time I got home from that appointment, probably about an hour later, they called me, because I already had the ultrasound scheduled. They called me and was basically like, hey, we see that, you know, you're also going to have your cervix checked, and with that, and you're going to have a consultation, so we can actually move your appointment up. So anyways, I'm glad that they did that, because I would have been 20 weeks at an appointment on May 14th, but That doesn't even sound right. Yeah, I would have been 20 weeks, but they moved my appointment up to May 8th, which was yesterday. And I was glad they did, because we're going to get into this anatomy scan and talk a little bit more about incompetent cervix, okay? So at this anatomy scan, the first thing they did do was look at my cervix, and I'm gonna be completely honest, when they did that, I could tell right off the bat that something was wrong. How they checked your cervix was, when you look at my cervix, just looking at it and measuring the length and everything, the doctor explained it perfectly at the end. This line between my hands is your cervix. This is what your cervix is supposed to look at like until you're ready to have your baby, when you start opening up. When they would apply pressure to my stomach, you could see my cervix shortened drastically. So it went from being long, about this long, to being this long, and it was already opening up. So it's like this, but if she put pressure on my stomach, it was opening up. Now, if you know, it's a no-brainer to realize that when you're pregnant, your stomach's growing. The weight on your stomach, the pressure and everything on your pelvic region increases as your baby grows. So that's not a good thing. I saw that when she was doing it, and I automatically knew, because I had been researching incompetent cervix, because I never got answers as to why my daughter was preterm, and how it started leaking fluid. But now that I'm experiencing and seeing the things that I am now, I kind of feel like it could have, because she seemed to be have been healthy. I checked out perfectly fine, so I really had no other explanation. And sometimes there's no explanation, to be frank about it. But I do believe that could have been what happened with that pregnancy. But being that it's a first pregnancy that made it that far, because I did have a miscarriage the year before I got pregnant with my daughter, but that's something completely different. That was in first trimester. They had no reason for me to be high risk or to look closer. It was just, you know, things happen. So I do believe, from what went on and me just going into labor suddenly, like, I knew something was wrong, because I started leaking fluid like 3 days before I actually had her. And it wasn't a heavy leak, it was a slow trickle. And I believe that maybe I had incompetent cervix during that pregnancy as well. And what happened was, I had started, you know, the pressure. You can't see it on an ultrasound if you're not looking for it. I can recall very well, they never pushed on my stomach during that ultrasound, so they wouldn't have saw that my cervix was opening up. Yeah, you can see an open cervix on an ultrasound, but even with my ultrasound, for me looking at it, you cannot see my cervix opening until you apply pressure on, like, and I'm not talking about hard pressure, just like slightly pushing on my stomach. You could see my cervix open up. So maybe that could have been the situation. I started funneling and sprung a leak, and things just went downhill from there. So to get back on the topic of this pregnancy, immediately, you know, I knew that was off. And so she went on from that, you know, taking pictures and everything of my cervix to checking on baby. We started at the head, moved to the feet. Baby's perfectly healthy. It has a heartbeat, a strong heartbeat. It looks good and healthy. Baby got biceps in there, you know, you know, a perfectly healthy baby. And I found out the gender, and I'm proud to announce I'm having a baby boy. Yes. I know you're probably like, what? I'm happy with whatever gender, because my last pregnancy was a girl. I've always thought I wanted boys. You know, I kind of was like, oh, I hope it's a boy. I hope it's a boy. But when I found out I was pregnant with a girl, I was elated. Like, I was in tears. So for my son, you know, I mean, I didn't get to cry, because in the back of my head, I was actually more concerned about what was to be talked about next, because I knew it was coming. So But I'm very excited. My husband's excited. He's team girl, but he's excited to be having a son as well. So that's that on that. So towards the end of the ultrasound, she was telling me, yeah, baby's healthy, blase, blase, blase. So I'll be reaching. I know ultrasound technicians, nurses and stuff, they're not supposed to talk to you about your condition. They're there to tend to you and do the lab, whatever they need to do to get what they need for the doctor. So I knew when I asked her, she wasn't going to tell me much, but I was hoping her response would hint to me what was going on. And it kind of did. So I asked her, yeah, but like, how did my cervix look? And she was like, so, you know, I'm gonna have the doctor come in and he's gonna talk to you a little bit about that. Don't get dressed because he may want to take a look for himself. That's what she told me, and she walked out the room. So the doctor came in and basically he started at the baby. The baby's healthy. You know, my son looks healthy. He looks good in there. He was very active yesterday. He showed out. Like, he showed out, and we got some very good, the gender was unmistakable. Like, even I'm in a pregnancy group and they commented, it's one of the best gender results you could see. Like, there's no denying. You see scrotum and, you know, like, you could see it. And it was the same with my last ultrasound, my last pregnancy as well. I don't know, I'm unsure. Maybe, I don't know if it's my size or my anatomy, but my ultrasounds come out very well and very clear. And I would insert a picture here. I'm putting my fingers up both ways. I don't know which direction it's gonna go. I'm new to this, y'all. But I'm gonna insert a picture, maybe even one of the short clips of the videos where you can see his biceps. But I'm going to insert that picture because baby boy is definitely a baby boy. I'm not going to buy a bunch of blue and be like, dang, I should have got pink. Like, he's a boy. He's very much a boy. So the doctor came in and he basically, aside of talking about that, the only thing they couldn't see was the spine, but it was how he was positioned. So they said they can check that in another ultrasound because I'm going to have a lot of ultrasounds from this point on. Just to be, you know, when you're at a specialist, they're observing, they're checking, and now they have even more reason because I was diagnosed with incompetent cervix. So he basically told me, he asked me first, because I had never been at this doctor's office before, he asked me first what happened in my last pregnancy. And I basically explained to him, you know, where things went wrong and what happened. And he said, okay, well, to be very clear with you, your baby is perfectly healthy, but your cervix is already opening. He was like, some women just have a weaker cervix, they don't carry babies well. And if you do not get a cerclage, you could lose your baby in a couple of weeks, more than likely. Don't want to get emotional. So he told me that, and I was like, okay, cool. You know, I had already kind of researched the cerclage. I kind of already knew what the result of a competent cervix was. And I know, you know, there's a lot of success stories with that. There's no guarantee. Like, with cerclages, a lot of people had no issues once they got a cerclage, and then some people, they still ended up, you know, opening even more further in their pregnancy, springing a leak, and things happen. But that's the sad reality of life, not just with pregnancies. With, you never know what's going to happen. You can walk out the door, anything could happen once you leave home. It can happen inside your home, anything could happen. So there's never a guarantee, but my faith and my beliefs and my hopes are, my son is going to be here come October 9th when he's due. He's going to be here. He's going to be healthy. I'm not thinking negatively in any way. I just believe that I'm gonna get this cerclage and deliver a healthy, happy baby boy. So as far as the cerclage goes, he did tell me that he wanted to do it the same day. He had already, actually, before he even laid eyes on me, he spoke with the hospital and they told him that they had too many surgeries already for the day. There was no way it was going to happen yesterday, which was Friday. I keep saying today because I'm telling you a story from yesterday, but this was all took place yesterday. So there was no way that this was going to happen yesterday. So he did say that he already got it scheduled for first thing Monday morning. He said, how is first thing Monday morning? Because I have you scheduled for first thing Monday morning. And I don't care what I had going on Monday morning, which I have jack squat going on. I was gonna be there first thing Monday morning, baby. I'm gonna be up probably 3 o'clock that morning. Like, can this time get here? Because I'm trying to do what I need to do to make sure baby boy is here. So just to explain what a cerclage is for those of you that don't know, it is basically where they go inside of you. It's transvaginal, so they go up your lady parts and they grab your cervix with forceps and they sew it closed at a point in the opening where they feel like would keep you from expanding more, and just to keep the baby from sliding out. Of course, not gonna just slide out. Some babies do slide out, but it's not gonna just slide out. So that's what they do. And because they administer epidural, it is done in a hospital setting. That's what he explained to me. That part, I'm not even gonna front. I was kind of skeptical about the whole when you said epidural, it wasn't even like, oh, I'm not gonna do this, I don't want an epidural. That was that's not a thought in my mind, because honey, this baby boy is my #1 priority, and anything that needs to be done is going to be done, okay? I don't have a birth plan, but when he said epidural, I was kind of like, dang, so I'm gonna have one this pregnancy anyway. So when it comes time to push, baby, if I need that epidural, I'm gonna be like, hey, yo, where's that good stuff? Bring it here. But the reason why I was a little skeptical is not because of having needles. I'm not afraid of needles. I have a couple of tattoos. I actually prefer to watch when needles are inserted, so this is gonna be kind of interesting because I can't see. But yeah, I don't have a thing with needles. I'm actually, for the past couple of weeks, have been getting progesterone shots, which is the main reason why I was transferred to the specialist. So needles don't bother me at all. Even the progesterone shots, I can explain that a little bit more as well. But that epidural situation is just more so that I've research and looking into things. I've heard a lot of people say they prefer not to get epidurals because they have issues with their back later on in pregnancy, or it just, you know, some people, epidurals work too good and they say they just could not push. Like, they were unable to push, they were unable to feel, you know, below their waist, so they didn't know like if they were really pushing. So, you know, I would hate to get an epidural just to end up having to have like an emergency C-section, more medicine administered, just for those reasons. But aside of that, you know, it's very helpful. My birth plan, I don't have a birth plan. I do know that it's going to be in a hospital setting. If I can deliver in the hospital and I make it to the hospital in time, it's going to be in a hospital setting. But aside of that, I have no birth plan. I don't care if it's a cesarean section, a C-section. I don't care if it's vaginally. I don't care if the baby came out my mouth. As long as this baby is delivered and, you know, healthy, it is what it is. But that's basically what they do for the cerclage. They just sew your cervix up, they watch, they monitor you. Now, my fear is now, because I am waiting a couple more days, I'm trying to stay off my feet. I'm actually isolating myself to the couch. I don't want to isolate myself to the bed. You can move around. Bed rest is not really, you know, I'm not on ordered bed rest, but I'm trying to limit my activity and make sure I don't do anything strenuous. No twerking, none of that, because I don't want my cervix to open up past the point where they can't do a cerclage, because if you start bleeding or if your cervix is too open, it can't be done. So I'm just trying to rest to make sure that, you know, when I go, things are still how they were and I can go ahead and get this done. I don't feel anything different. Honestly, to tell you the truth, as far as symptoms go, I would have no idea that my cervix was opening. I don't really know what contractions feel like until they're very strong. I have a very, very high pain tolerance. So even when I was in labor with my daughter, my back was hurting all day. And I had just went to the doctor earlier that morning. So you would think if my cervix was open and they looked up there that they would know that, but I didn't have an ultrasound. So, and I said I was leaking fluid. Let's just have a moment here, soak all that in. But yeah, so my back was hurting, and you know that can be a sign of labor when your lower back is hurting very bad. And then later on in the day, my stomach was extremely tight. But if you ever been pregnant, I honestly thought I was constipated. I thought maybe I had to make a bowel movement and my stomach was just hurting and I couldn't go. Even up to the point where I kind of thought I had contractions. I felt like I had to use the bathroom, and I went in there and I tried to push, and I felt something move down there, and I was like, abort mission. And I got up off the toilet and called for somebody to come get me. I called the ambulance because because my husband was at work and he was trying his hardest to make it home, but unfortunately he wasn't able to make it here in time. So I did get an ambulance to go to the hospital because we have one car. So I had no idea until I woke up about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning that I was actually, well, it's like 5 o'clock, that I actually was having contractions. I was confused, honestly, all that night. I slept through it. I slept through the beginning of my contractions, the beginning of my labor. So technically I labored majority of the afternoon, the evening before, and all night, and had no idea. Looking back on it, like, it makes sense now. You know, when I talked to the doctors and they asked me like, were you having anything before, they were like, okay, so you're probably experiencing contractions, but being that this is your first baby, you didn't know you were experiencing contractions. So you know, just discomfort, I would just switch sides. And so that's the biggest thing with this pregnancy. Like, I don't, you know, I've had stomach tightness occasionally, but I don't know if it was a contraction or not, because pain is not excruciating. Like, my contractions before were not bad until they were actually 4 to 5 minutes apart, and by then you're ready to push. As soon as I got to the hospital, my water broke. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't know. And then if you research incompetent cervix, it also says, you know, back pain, pressure, etc. But that can somewhat be normal pregnancy symptoms once you get to a certain stage, you know, especially on smaller stature of women. I'm 5'7", but I'm not extremely small, but I'm on the lighter side. I lost weight before I got pregnant this pregnancy. So I started off this pregnancy around like my 120s, probably 123, and now I'm about 143 at 18 weeks and 1 day. So not to get back on topic, basically, I'm getting this cerclage performed on Monday morning. The actual time that I have to be at the hospital is 7 a.m. They're performing the surgery at 9 a.m. in the morning, but of course I have to be there 2 hours before that time. Patient registration to check in, to get everything started, you know, to prep me and make sure that I'm good before they actually do what they need to do. So that's basically the situation with that. So being 18 weeks, 1 day, and finding out, I guess I can tell you guys kind of how I feel. My initial thoughts were, I can't lose another baby. You know, I don't know how I would deal with losing another baby. So I was like, you know, whatever I need to do, you know, whatever needs to be done is going to be done. There's no questions about it. After those feelings of emotions, I did cry shortly when I called my mom. You know, when I called, she wanted me to do a gender reveal for her, but even though I'm optimistic, I was like, you know, I wasn't doing a gender reveal for myself. I wanted to know. We wanted to know. Originally, we didn't want to know. After the last situation, before we even got pregnant again, we just said, we don't want to know the gender until we actually have the baby. But I kind of felt like my decision for that was more so because I didn't want to become attached, because I feel like your bond grows. Don't get me wrong, this baby boy in my stomach, I've loved him since day one, but I feel like once you know the gender, it's that milestone in your pregnancy. Like, once you say, for instance, you're going to school to be a doctor, or you're at your job and you get promoted, or you know, you get your master's degree, and then it's time for, you know, your bachelor's, your master's, you're moving up. It's like that milestone in your pregnancy where you feel like this is real, like this is happening, there's no turning back. This is, you know, in a few more months I'm gonna have a healthy baby. I'm halfway there. So I felt like there was no need for me to not experience that. I mean, it's even more joy knowing later on down the road, which I think I am going to do, because I've already experienced the joy of finding out I was having a girl and now finding out I'm having a boy. You know, if I'm blessed to have more kids, which is my plan, even with everything that I'm experiencing, I do plan on having more kids down the road. So if I'm blessed to have more kids, and I say that because nobody ever knows what's going to happen in life. So, but once I'm blessed, I'm going to speak it into existence. I'm going to manifest it. Once I'm blessed to have more kids, I don't think that we're going to find out the gender until birth, which is, you know, still exciting. But I was happy to find out that I'm having a baby boy. But yeah, so my plan is moving forward. Monday, today is Saturday, so I have one more day of sitting around. I'm anxious because I am very anxious. I'm extremely anxious. So I have one more day to sit around and just be anxious, because I'm ready to get this done. Like, if I knew what I was doing, baby, I would be in here spread eagle, sewing myself up. Try to keep it a little PG-13. But yeah, I would do it myself if I wasn't, you know, scared of infection and not in a sterile environment and everything else. But yes, I'm ready. I'm very ready, because, like I said, anything necessary. But I do plan on vlogging that experience. I'm not sure what their policy is going to be on cameras, but I'm using my phone for this video actually now, so hopefully, you know, I can take my phone in, tripod in between the situation, at least, you know, get the before and after, the recovery of that, and get that video out to you guys, and just let you know how my cerclage goes, how this pregnancy is going, how baby boy is doing in there, and, you know, finish sharing this experience with you guys. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any suggestions, comment down below. If you've experienced an incompetent cervix, or if you're experiencing now and you saw the title of this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and comment down below, like this video, subscribe, and click that notification bell so that you know what's going on once I have this cerclage in on Monday, okay? So once again, my name is Deshay. I can also get a Q&A out for you guys if you have any questions, or if you want to know a little bit more about me. I can definitely give you guys a video letting you know more about me. I have more content. This channel is not going to be just a pregnancy channel. it is going to be the main content, but I don't know if I'm going to have 2 separate channels or what. But I can also, you know, if you like this wig, do a review. Just leave comments down below on video suggestions, and stay tuned because I'm not even halfway there yet. So I have a long journey to go, and I hope that you guys are here for it. And I wish all you guys the best on you guys' end. Stay safe, stay well, stay from outside around people, you know, social distancing. Make sure you're practicing that. And I love you guys. Stay tuned.